Welcome to I'm Too Busy, an interview-based show hosted by a talented makeup artist, Christina Flach. Christina offers viewers a unique blend of personal stories, inspiring journeys, and practical beauty tips. Join the conversation as Christina features successful individuals from various industries who share their insights on health, wellness, makeup, and the keys to their success. So now, please welcome the host of I'm Too Busy, Christina Flach.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of I'm Too Busy TV, where we explore the lives of powerful visionaries who are making bold moves while juggling full lives. I am your host, Christina Flach, and today I have someone whose presence is as calming as it is empowering. She's redefining wellness by integrating ancient healing with modern mindfulness. Please join me in welcoming the incredible Kama Hagar.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my God, stop. It's like my total honor. Full disclosure, I have known Kama since she's in kindergarten. She's been best friends with my daughter, Rose, her entire life. They adore each other, as does my older daughter, Jelly. So I've known you forever. And it's so interesting when I obviously know your parents, just to see someone grow up and go through all these different changes, but just watching you because you've been so amazing with like you started in fashion, you were so into it as a teenager, and then you went to college, and then you got into a different path. So what changed for you that you just decided that fashion was just not going to be it?
You know, it's hilarious. I can say this to you. I loved fashion, but I wanted to be like Jelly, duh.
Y'all want to be like the Jelly?
We want to be like Jelly. No, but I loved self-expression, and that was really the core of it. And I always like to distill down like what's the core of my desire or what I'm interested in. And for me, eventually through fashion, I found out that I just wanted to feel it was my outlet to feel like me, to feel authentic, to feel playful, to feel confident. And so that was always my mission in starting even a clothing line when I went to school for that. And I just found out really quickly that industry was just way too intense for a soft little girl like me. And
No, you're not soft, you're sensitive. And fashion is hardcore. It's not for the faint of heart. It is just like, it's ruthless, quite frankly.
it is ruthless. And I just thought there's just so many things that I couldn't look away from. I wanted it to be ethical and sustainable. I wanted it to be empowering for women's body image. And we all know fashion is not great at those things. And so I was going to do it differently and wanted to do it differently. But I ended up just feeling like I was kind of beating my head against a wall. And I do trust that if doors just don't open, you got to be perseverant, you got to be determined. But there's a point where it's like, I think you're being redirected. And so I just listened to that and followed the pull. And here I am now.
Oh my gosh. So you describe your work as helping women live a lit up life. What does that mean to you? And how did that philosophy begin for you?
Yeah, I love the word lit.
Oh, it's such a great word. It's like, it feels like happy and energetic. And what does it mean to you? What does lit mean to you?
Well, a great question. No one's ever asked. It means like fun and exactly like fun, energetic, exciting. There's also to me like kind of like I don't know why, but there's like a relaxed feeling in it too. It's like celebratory, but it feels like centered. And don't even ask me why. That's just how the word it feels conveyed to me.
Uh-huh.
I use it a lot in descriptive things. I use it as like slang. And I thought, you know what? I really do value the idea of living a lit up life and a life that feels lit, a life that feels exciting to you and authentic to you. I also think of lit as like your inner light, and that's authenticity and that's alignment. So I think we're here to have like a full experience on earth. I mean, that's why I think I incarnated into this body. So why not make it lit? That's what I
I
think.
completely agree. Everything should be lit. So why don't you tell me a little bit about, like, you went to college, you got your degree, and then you decided that, how did you get down this wellness path?
Yeah, well, fashion like took the life out of me, to be honest, and it was good. It was all for the best. I just found that I was so misaligned in my life. I was following an idea that really wasn't congruent with what I believed in and the core of my desire, which, like I said, was authenticity and self-expression. And I thought that was one way to do it, but it wasn't my actual way. I was living in LA in like a super dark, little tiny cement studio apartment. And I was so lonely. I was so isolated. I was just so far from my truth, which I feel is like, as you know, I live here on Maui now. It's like luscious, abundant, fun, connected, sunshine, warmth. And it was just everything in my life was so far from that. And so I was trying to figure out how to like heal myself. I was just like, I don't feel good. So I got into meditation and yoga and all the things for me, and ended up launching a skincare line during that time because I went back here to Maui, bought a one-way ticket, felt really inspired, just like crafting with luscious fruits and plants. And again, I made that for me, but I was like, maybe I could sell this and, go through school, got my business degree, applied everything back to my business. I was learning and applying, but I was finding that my skincare line was like a gateway drug into the world of wellness, because I ended up doing all these fun like spa pop-ups, and I ended up collaborating with yoga studios. And I was like, oh, wait, no, this is the pulse of what I'm interested in. It's what makes you feel good from the inside out. And so I ended up just getting a bunch of certifications again for myself until all my teachers pushed me to teach. And then from there, I taught until I eventually got clients, and I still have those clients to this day, a lot of them, and it's been almost 8 years.
That's remarkable. It's so interesting the path you've taken, because you were a makeup artist. Um, and I love that. But I also think that, and I speak about this with my makeup for my clients, it's beauty from the inside out. And so you and I've always connected. I remember that day that we met at Diana Stobo's house in La Jolla, and I just love who you are. I just find you so incredibly fascinating, and the path you've taken, bringing all these, experiences that you've had in your life to what you're doing now. I just love it. I mean, I think it's like what you said earlier, these things weren't happening to you, they were happening for you. And but all those experiences also got you to this place that you're so evolved, and you're very clear on what makes you happy. It was so funny. I was once asked, where does your soul live? So our whole family knows where your soul lives, in Maui, a little bit
Where,
in Cabo.
yeah, where's yours?
Mine, Cabo.
I was gonna say, is it Cabo?
Yeah, it's in Cabo on my rock. You know that rock at the end of Chileno Bay? That's where my soul lives. And when someone asked me that, and I know that's for you with Maui, it's almost like where your soul lived really indicated where you were going to go down your path with your business. So when did you realize? So when you were down in LA, you were living there, you realized, like, my soul does not live here.
No.
And
Yeah, I think about this all the time for people and my clients. I even have friends being like, you were so clear about your place and then everything fell into place. Like, do I have a place? Like, would basically your question, like, does my soul live somewhere? Do I need to go there? And it's posed a lot of interesting questions for me. I don't know if that's true for every person, that a place guides them to their highest self or like their most aligned path. But for me, that was absolutely hands down true. And since I was a little girl, like my earliest memories here on Maui were being, and my parents will say this, I would cry every time we'd leave. I was so like, don't take me from my home. Like, this is my home. It like makes me emotional just thinking about it.
oh, I love that. It's
Yeah, like
amazing.
I just knew it. And so I resisted it for a long time, thinking I'm too young to move to Maui. Like, everyone's retired. Like, what did I do to earn that? Or like, am I going to be lonely? Or am I going to have a career there? Is it possible to do? I had all these limiting beliefs. Oh, will I find a partner? Like, and eventually I just got to the place where I was like, I need to go. I just need to go. And I followed that. And literally, when I tell you, every single area of my life just started to flourish. So I do think that when we have a deep pull or call, whether it's to a place or to an idea or whatever, like following that is so important.
No, I completely agree. Was it, it's just kind of what you said about as soon as you're super clear, everything became possible. And I think that's what limits people is that they're not clear of their desires and what
Yeah.
really brings them happiness. I've told my daughters, as you know, and I'm sure I've told you this too when you were younger, figure out what you love doing and then figure out how to get paid and then figure out where you want to live. And I love that you have done that. And at such a young age, it takes most people, half their life to figure out that they don't love their job or where they live or what they do. And, you know, what is your parents' thoughts on that? Like, did they think, I mean, they've always known where you love to be, but did they find it, were they surprised when you decided to move to Maui full time?
No, I think they were like waiting for it. And actually, so to be frank, I moved in 2023. I moved and but I met someone at the same time, the same exact week that I was moving in Orange County,
Remember?
where I was an interim. Yeah, started this relationship, was going back and forth. I even moved back to Orange County for a few months because I was like, well, and I mean, I can't even tell you. It was like that feeling where I was living in LA. I was so out of alignment and my nervous system was wrecked. I was literally like losing hair. And I was like, what is wrong with me? But my body, and I think a lot of ours do too, we just might like ignore it or chalk it up to be something.
Hmm.
My body speaks so loud and I always get frustrated about that. But I'm now really looking at it as it's my thermostat. Like it will tell me yes or no. It's like a game of hot and cold. And
Hmm.
yeah, it started freaking out. And my parents, before my body even freaked out, were like, my dad was so ashamed of me. It was actually like we had to go through a lot where he was like, you know better. Like, you know your path. We all know your path. It's blaringly obvious. And you are, if I'm allowed to swear, like, you're just
Oh, of course.
up.
You're
You're
fuck. I can
fucking
just hear
up.
your dad. You're fucked up.
Yeah, he's like, you're fucking it all up. Like, what are you doing? And deep
Great though that
down,
your dad, like how wonderful that you have parents that can see, like that don't have like, oh no, some preconceived notion of what is appropriate of how you should live your life or where or how. I mean, how blessed are you?
so blessed.
Do you think that having, Kama's got amazing parents, Kari and Sam, Hagar, rock star. Do you think your childhood or how they've raised you inspired you to be an entrepreneur because both your parents are, and they're both very hardworking. So, what do you think you learned from both of them?
Good question. I learned, okay, something I always say that they're a perfect balance. Like my dad is like,
They are.
he's like full throttle, send it. And my mom's like, wait, like iron out some details, be practical. And I always feel because of them, and I just realized it now when we're saying it, like one of my main philosophies in coaching and in my life is that you have to honor your human as much as your spirit. And in a way, I feel like my dad embodies the spirit, my mom embodies the human, and that
I
both
love that.
are like a piece, it just grounds it out. It's like, yeah, we're always going to dream big. We're going to be like beyond life, but we're also going to stay grounded. And that is like the yin yang that my parents have. So I appreciate that. I also just appreciate that they were so encouraging of, I mean, my dad has 4 kids, my mom, like my sister and I, but all of my siblings and I are so different and we all went down our own individual authentic paths and you can see that. And I think that's just a testimony to the way that we were parented, like do you and just be brave and send it basically. So I appreciate that immensely.
I do too. And I think I've tried to do that with my kids. And I think, I'm sure my kid's dad would be happy if they had like normal jobs. But,
We're against
I've,
normal jobs.
they've got, Rose is a writer and Jelly's got her fashion line. But I think it's important. But, as much as my kid's dad would probably say that he'd like them to have a normal job, he has to realize he's an entrepreneur and has started multiple businesses. And so what does he expect from these kids? That's what they were, just like you, what you were raised with. That's what you know. So
Yeah.
it's not, I think for people that have had parents with normal jobs, 9 to 5 jobs that are like artistic and, out there, it's not, I think it's scarier for kids like that were raised with 9 to 5 jobs with parents to be entrepreneurs. But you've seen nothing, and everyone that your parents knows has something, a creative type of job, most of the people that they're friends with.
It's
So
true. It really does help your like mindset because you like that door doesn't seem closed. It's just actually the water you're swimming in. So I do understand that it is a bigger leap for people to take when they haven't seen it. It's like you got to just surround yourself with people like that so that your mind opens.
like-minded, absolutely. You know, as someone that you're deeply rooted in Hawaiian healing traditions, how do you blend ancient practices with modern wellness?
Yes. Okay. So I studied Hawaiian healing here multiple times with elders and healers on the island. So incredibly life-changing, just moving. And I, of course, am not Native Hawaiian. And so I'm really mindful around those practices and how they're proliferated. But luckily, all of my teachers have said, like, this is the stuff we're teaching you because we want you to proliferate this. We want people to understand how this can
Right.
fit the collective. And so I basically just take a lot of the principles, like the same way that people use yoga philosophy as a baseline or, the Taoist way. Like there's so many different philosophies that people use. And for me, it's Hawaiian. So I love the principles of just community and culture. I love how they incorporate dance and like gathering as a form of spirituality and connection. I love that they're so integrated with nature and symbolism and how everything speaks to you. I think there's just so many things that Hawaiians do that I wish our society would adopt more and that we would lean back into. But most indigenous cultures have the same kind of baseline. Like they're all doing those things. And I think the more we lean into those things, the healthier, happier, more aligned humans we are. So that's how I combine the two. And then with my other certifications as well. So Reiki, yoga, meditation, I just blend them all together. And it's very bespoke depending on what people are coming to me for.
So do you work with people one-on-one, but you also have meditation. So why don't you tell me a little bit about, your business and how it works and
Yeah. So it's one-on-one. It used to be, I used to do corporate wellness where I really had to like pigeonhole myself. I actually loved doing corporate wellness, but admittedly, I used to always say my favorite part about doing corporate wellness was when people would quit their jobs. And then I realized it's probably not right for me to be doing this because like I have a motive. It wasn't that, it was just that I want people to find alignment. That's my core mission.
right. I get that. That
And
makes
so
total sense.
if it's not working this 9 to 5 for this person and this culture that's not great, like, yeah, I want them to leave. So ultimately, I kind of stopped doing corporate wellness. I've been doing one-on-ones the whole time. So people will come to me with anything they're working with, honestly. I mean, it's been all over the board, but the main person I like to work with is someone who's tried it all and they are
We're
like,
stuck.
still, yes, I'm stuck. What's happening? And that's when it takes bravery because they know what's not aligned and they're too scared to look at it. And they know what they actually desire. Or maybe that's even foggy, but we're going to bring them to that so that they actually start to make the moves that they're meant to make. That's my favorite person to work with. And so I do that one-on-one. And then I have my Lush Life community membership for people who just like want to get their toes in, or they've been clients that want to continue to just be connected to themselves because the through line through everything is if you're not connected to yourself and you're not listening to your highest self, to your desires, to even the human part of you, all of the things holistically, then you can't even know where to go. So I've developed tons of practices and tapping and limiting belief restructurings and all kinds of things for people to just keep coming back to to stay in touch with themselves. And that's what that's all about. So
So speaking about that, what have you had to learn and unlearn?
so many things. Oh my gosh. Okay, I think my biggest one lately is everything is possible. And I'm always
Oh,
still trying to remember that and bust through any of my limiting beliefs around that because it is just fact that whatever we believe is our reality. So I've really had to learn like how much of a co-creator slash creator I am of my own life. And it's like truly in my mindset. And you hear that all the time. And it's like, it didn't click for me until I actually started doing tapping, which is emotional freedom technique. Have you ever done that?
I've heard about, I have done a little bit. I haven't done it in a long time, but tell me a little bit about it.
It's so amazing for restructuring belief systems. Is I've found like the best thing that it can do. You basically tap on the like these main center points where they're connected to like vital organs that store emotions and all of these different things. It's like acupuncture, acupressure combo mixed with like somatic work. So you're rewiring your brain while you're saying these statements about, first you go through the negative. You're like, I don't believe like I can make this amount of money. Like there's no way. Like, and you say all of the negatives, all of the things you actually believe right now until it's a neutral statement. And then you're like, well, maybe like some people do a little, and then you get more and more and more positive until you're in this like infinite space of like literally anything is possible. Who says? And all the while it's soothing your nervous system. And when your nervous system feels calm, you can literally call in anything from that point. The constriction we feel in our nervous system around things is why like we repel certain energy. So it helps us be open again to things. And it also gives us the mindset of like how I get from A to B to C when I'm in a negative place. So anyways, I do that with clients. There's tons of resources on my website. And then there's free YouTube videos online for that too.
So tell me, can you walk me through a transformational experience you facilitated with a client that really touched you?
Yes. Oh
You
my
don't
God.
have to say names, obviously, but just
Yeah.
maybe experience.
Yeah, there's, oh my God, there's so many. I would say most recently, well, this is actually not most, I have a client who was so anxious. Like she could not function. She was like weepy and so anxious. She had experienced so much trauma in her early life. And I was even thinking, like, is this even in my wheelhouse? Some of the things she was bringing to the table. And she was just really committed to growing and healing and feeling better and not wanting to live this way. So we worked together for about a year. And literally, so I took her through a process called Aloha Ma. I have a tattoo of it because it's just so life-changing. And I learned this from my Hawaiian healing teacher, Keoni Hanalei, who's amazing, where we go through this process where we meet like our internal parts. We meet the part of us that is connected to divinity. We meet the part of us that is here to contribute into the world. And we learn the names of those parts and what they need. And it sounds so like, but you go through this process. It's so practical in the end. You finally understand yourself at a core level. It was so life-changing for me. It's literally why I got a tattoo.
Wow.
And she was so moved, like 180'd her life, literally like moves out of the country, gets a divorce.
What?
It's
Oh, she did all the things.
literally all the things. And she is thriving, like thriving.
Like you never thought would happen.
No, so brave, like so brave. Her house burned down in the middle of like the year we were working together. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like we're
Oh
gonna go
God,
back to
she's
square
gonna
one.
jump off the bridge. Yeah.
No, she was like, I know why my house burned down. Like this is for me. She was like,
She's so evolved. She's
she literally
wow.
like life changing. And so, and she got that so funny. She didn't get Aloha Ma, the practice like name itself, but she got the name of her inner parts on each forearm tattooed. I've actually had a few clients get that done after going through this process. They've gotten a
Wow.
tattoo or they wear like a necklace about it now, like because you're so connected, you understand yourself, like finally. It's so powerful.
That's remarkable. How long does it usually take for you to notice or for one to notice change when you start working with them?
Oh, it's a good question. Well, there's so many different kinds of people that come in. So I used to love working with the very, very newbie beginner who'd never like meditated because I loved that they would just feel an instant, immediate transformation, just
Right.
taking a deep freaking breath. So that was
Right.
really fun. It can be right away, but for people who are on like the deeper journeys, I'd say it can be as soon as like a couple sessions, but it also, for it to really get embedded and for real change to happen, it can take a couple of months.
Yeah, I'm sure it does take time.
Yeah.
What inspired you to create the Lush Life community?
Oh, I wanted a place where literally, like, I love a good subscription where everything's right there at your fingertips. And for me, I just felt like I had all of these different practices under my belt that feel so important to me as a person and that I use with my clients. And I kept sending them to a bunch of different places to get those resources, like, oh, try this link, or go here for this. And then I was like, what? There should be one spot for all of it. So, meditation, tapping, I have like, I'll not like a podcast, but I'll have these like chats. I also do all my workshops that I've ever done. I record and I put them up there for people to do later. And then fun recipes that are like healthy and delicious because I don't think there should be
Nice.
sacrifice ever.
I agree.
Yeah. But so that was the reason. I just thought we need one good place for people to keep in touch with themselves and like have a good time doing it.
I love that. You have been featured in huge platforms, Forbes, CNN, Vogue. What message do you believe resonates most about your work?
Hmm. Originally, my main mission was, which I trademarked this word, this phrase, which is selfless self-care. And that got a lot of traction. So selfless self-care, meaning like that when you pour into yourself, you overflow. Like it's never selfish to take
Right.
care of yourself. And I do think a lot of people needed that, especially women, because we think of self-care as like taking from somebody else, but we really, really have to understand that when we pour into ourselves, everybody flourishes. When we follow the path that we're most aligned for, it inspires, it's a ripple, like our friends and our family, and everybody starts to see like,
Totally agree.
I should do the same thing. What am I doing?
Right. It's so interesting because I agree. Self care is not selfish. I think it is the greatest gift you can give to yourself to give to others. I think it's also important as a parent, if you don't, if you don't see that your parents, eat well, rest, are hard, all the amazing things that your parents are, um, I don't think that you can be anything. Like you want to set that example for your children. You don't want them to think that, working and not sleeping well and not eating well, like all these things, you think they're going to turn out any different? Of course not.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
You
mean,
are a model.
absolutely. What do you think's like something that you've learned from your parents that you've learned like,
Mm. Um, on the self, I'm gonna be honest, on the self-care front, I would say, okay, I would say, well, my mom was like always really like about her like walks. Like that was her time. That was her way. She also, I
yeah,
have to give her way more credit. She also was the one that made me read the first book about like clean skincare. And she was the first one to she started meditating and had like a private yoga teacher. And actually both times she forced me to do it, of course, and I hated it so much. And I cried. I was like, I hate this. And then hilariously, like I teach it, all the things. But but I do think like that those are things I learned from her and then from my dad, which is I take this is my main word, my like uniqueness or the way that I do things and the way that I coach people to do things is just literally be brave. And I thought that was really unique to me, but I realized that I fully like stole that from my dad and like that he
sure,
completely,
he'll love
yeah.
to hear that.
Yeah, no, he's the bravest person I've ever met. And so I think that's one of my favorite qualities in me, but like he's just another level of bravery. And I definitely learned that from just watching him.
I love that. What are some of the most common emotional or spiritual blockages that you see among women, and how do you help them overcome those?
Oh, I think most women are still stuck in the like, how can I be everything for everyone else and
Hmm.
do everything for everyone else? And just maybe like the people pleasing or the I can't because like there are all these dependents on me. And I just,
Hmm.
again, to what you just said, if you're not modeling as a woman to your children or your people or your community, like nobody thrives. You're just teaching them to stay small and stay misaligned and
Hmm.
not live a lit life at all. And like that is, I know that's the last thing that we want. Like your influence is so much greater when you're actually living your life the way that you want to live it. And it's just liberating. So that's the biggest block I see with most women. And I'm always trying to remind them, like, whatever limiting belief you have, like, I can't do this because of this, literally tap on it, like, figure it out because it's not true. There's always another reality and another way. And you don't have to know how, you just have to believe that there is. And like I said, for me, tapping was just a great way to start rewiring my nervous system for that belief. That's the biggest thing. Just like getting in their own way. And that,
Yeah, I love that. You're the founder of Mukama Botanica. How do your products tie into your personal healing philosophy?
oh, like completely. And that's where I started. And I think I didn't realize how it was like this kind of physical manifestation of what I was going on to study. But every single ingredient in that skincare is so pure. It's 100% organic and natural. It's a connection with nature in a bottle. And of course, I actually studied when I was studying Hawaiian healing, I applied a lot of my teachings to creating those products. So it's almost like medicine, like la'au lapa'au is the word for plant medicine in Hawaiian. And I studied that. And so I use a lot of those principles in formulating and in sourcing, and it's all organic, eco, recycled packaging, just so conscious, truly selfless self-care. And that's actually the trademark that came from that. It came from that, and then it was the through line into everything else. But it's not only the product itself that's so beautiful, but then the ritual for me, like skincare and like sitting on my counter and putting on my skincare in the morning and at night has always been just a time where I'm like literally in the mirror, like connecting to my own eyes, tending to myself, nourishing the skin that I'm in. It has so much metaphor. And it's also just like a moment to breathe and connect with the essential oils, which are all created for aromatherapy and all the things that I
I love
yeah. So it's just another added way of self-connection and self-nourishment that I believe in so much.
I used your facial mist today when I was getting ready, and I love it. I've used it. I've used it on my clients. I've used it on your dad, and all my clients love it. It's just it. I use a lot of aromatherapy with my clients because I just find that it calms them and it kind of centers them and gets them just a little bit more present because they're scattered all over, and they need to just have a little moment for themselves. And I think aromatherapy is such a great way of connecting, like for me as a makeup artist with my clients, it just kind of gets them like, oh, I get a hand massage with lavender oil or, my Kama spray. I think it's great. I love that you do it. Do you have more products that you're working on?
My God, I always have a million like
Love that.
that I want to create. At the moment, there's nothing like in line, but stay tuned. I'm
Oh,
actually getting a business partner right now because there's only one me and I am running three things, and I know you understand this.
oh
Um,
yes.
so that's stay tuned, basically.
I think it's great that you're getting someone to help you because it's kind of like what you were talking about your parents' relationship, how they balance each other out. I think that's why, as entrepreneurs, we need to find who balances us. If your strength is creating, you need someone that's, good with numbers, good at focusing on those type of things so that you can focus all your energy on creating amazing things. Because for us, it's not as natural to like do this business plan and do all these you know, grown up business things, you need to be able to be inspired to create. And it's hard when you've like got a business plan you have to come up with. Do you find
Yes.
that?
Yes, I'm learning to this literally this year, 2025. I finally learned to delegate. I got I had an intern, and she was the most amazing intern I'd ever had. And I was like, how long is she going to work for free for me? And then finally she was like, hey, I can't keep, I was like, okay, fine. So I started to work with her just a few hours a week, even having
It
her.
makes such a difference, right?
Oh my God. Yes. And delegation and Fiverr and all the different websites that you can actually just like pay someone really cheap to do things that free up your creativity, which is so important.
I love that you've done that. You know, you've worn many hats, coach, editor, entrepreneur, and you're soon to be author, I hear. You're writing a book.
Little
How do you
Rose
manage
edit
your
it.
little Rose? Did
Did some
Rose edit
editing.
it?
She
She
did. She did a run through and did the very first draft. She gave me some revisions. So,
Oh my gosh. Well, that's so nice of her. I love that. How do you manage all these identities while staying aligned and grounded?
oh my gosh. It's a good question. Well, right now, the honest truth is I'm asking myself, like, what do I need to let go of? And is it like the actual, like some actual businesses, or is it just delegating more? Is it, and I'm finding that balance. I've been playing with it a little bit right now, but um the truth is like we can do it all, but also at what cost? And so I've just started to prioritize things like community, things like play, so much more in my life, which fill my cup. So I know it's essential and it does help the other
Right.
flourish. And I'm looking at things right now, trying to see like, yeah, what can I let go of a little bit or give to someone else to handle? Yeah, I definitely am always wearing a lot of different hats. I'm trying to also do things where like on Mondays, I'm just working on coaching stuff. On Tuesdays, it's my editing stuff. On Wednesday, I'm trying to do some more batch stuff around it, but it's in the works. It's always switching. I feel like, do you feel like
I
that?
know. I do. And I think you're right. Like, I mean, it sounds in theory, it's great. Like, okay, Mondays, you work on one thing and Tuesdays the next. But then someone needs something with social media or you have to write that.
Totally.
It's very hard to keep it completely separate. I think it's a great aspiration, but I don't know. I think it's hard when you have so much going on.
Oh, for sure. And they do slip into each other. And then when you're such a like creative, energized person, you're like, well, what if I could? And then you start working on something else like, on the wrong day or whatever. Like,
On the wrong day. Yeah. It's hard to be really disciplined and creative at the same time. I mean, I think that's something that we've all had to learn. We want to be entrepreneurs and we want to be creative, but there has to be some discipline and
yeah.
focus. And that's sometimes hard. And then, so what brings you the most joy?
Oh, such a good question. It's my favorite question. What brings me joy? Everything Maui. Literally from the flowers to the fruits to the ocean
To
to
the air, the
all the
fragrances.
air. Yep, like everything about this place. And I realized like it's hilarious when I was being kind of just disintegrated and I was looking at all the things I love and I was like, I wonder what I should do. It's like they're literally all here. So this place, my home. It's the most joyful thing, my community here. I've been into dancing. I love my meditation practice, my people, everything. I don't know, surfing. Those are my joys right now and kind of always.
I love that you have created this life that brings you happiness and joy because then it's just easy, just like what you said, you can spread more of that around.
Yeah.
You talk about a lot about fulfillment as a compass. What advice do you have for women who feel disconnected from purpose or joy?
We'll get back to basics. Just like square one, make a list, like an elementary style list of what brings you joy. And if it's so hard to see that now, try to remember what brought you joy as a kid. And that was actually the beginning of my really coming home to my joy was I like created a little altar. You don't have to do this, but I'm like, a little extra.
Yeah.
Created an altar to my inner child. And I was literally like, I got to get a Barbie at Target. It's going to be covered in flowers and sparkly things. And I thought, like, what does this have to do with anything now? Because in so many ways, I feel so different. But it was that reminder of like, no, like, there's so much of the same. I just like let it go to sleep. I've just gotten disconnected from it. So going back to your inner child and letting that part of you lead you back to your joy is so powerful. Like the way that you used to play still says so much about the way that you need to play now. And we're just like too uptight about it. So yeah, I would say getting back into that. If you need to like, go through like old photos or videos or whatever you have
Right.
to inspire, like get back into that. Yeah.
How has your relationship with wellness shifted over the years, especially during high stress or transitional seasons?
So much. It changes all the time. There are times where I'd say my baseline practice every day, non-negotiable, is some form of meditation, even if it's only for 5 minutes. And that's because I'm a go, go, go kind of person. I'm too busy TV. I have literally like sitting down is like the opposite of what I actually want to do or what's in my nature, but I know that I need it. So that's my always. Even if it's just that one time. So
Right.
always practice, but it changes. Like sometimes I'm in a big like tapping thing. When I find that there's something limiting me, I go straight into my tapping until I feel like I break through that wall. There are times where I'm also I always joke about the time I went to Bali, and everybody goes to Bali for like some spiritual thing. And for me at that time, the most spiritual thing was doing nothing spiritual. And I was just like eating and being indulgent. And it felt so healing to me to do that too. So you just have to
But that's what you needed at that time and
exactly.
not judge it. I mean, I think it's great that you've done these experiences that bring you joy and not sit and beat the crap out of yourself because it's kind of counterproductive, right?
Yeah. Well, I've done plenty of that. So I
Well,
realized,
we all have.
yeah. So letting it flow.
Yes. So, what role does community play in a woman's healing and empowerment, especially within the Lush life?
Um, does community play? That's the question. Oh,
Hmm.
literally everything. And I didn't know that for my whole life. I actually resisted it a lot. And like it felt triggering to me when people would bring up community, actually, because probably because I didn't feel like I had a strong one. And I was lucky to be like on the go as a kid growing up on like the road with my parents. They were pulling me in and out of school, as you know. We were like moving around a lot, and then I grew up and I like perpetuated the exact same trauma where I just like wasn't settling down anywhere. And I would get a sense of community and then I'd leave. And I felt so lonely, like at the baseline of everything. And they say like loneliness is worse than smoking like a pack of cigarettes a day or something. So like it literally is so, it- I mean, it's the opposite. If you have a good sense of community, you are so radiant and healthy. The Blue Zones books and all of those studies.
I love that. I think
Yeah.
that's fascinating.
Number one is community. I mean, there's like eating local food, the whole thing, but like,
Yeah, but and movement,
yes,
exercise. And it's just like what you said about when like the being playful and moving around. Those are and food.
yeah,
These things are just so important. And I love what you said earlier about getting back to basics, like
it's
really basic stuff, like eating well, getting exercise, seeing your friends, sitting down for dinner, just like normal things that people, don't seem to have time for, but really do need to make time for. Do you find that?
yes, exactly that. So I'd say community honestly might be number one. I felt the most shift in my well-being happen when I found my community. Nothing could like fix anything as much as just being in aligned community.
Interesting.
Yep.
As a soon to be author, can you give me a sneak peek into about what your book's going to be about?
Yes. So I'm
And what
currently,
inspired you? And what inspired you? And what's that process been like?
yeah,
Three-part question.
totally easy, easy. I've always loved writing. I've written a blog for the past almost 10 years and weekly blog. And now it's shifted more to my digital magazine called Maui Makai. That's where all my writing's been going these days. But nonetheless, I knew I had a book in me. I knew actually I have a few books in me. And I was just trying to figure out like where to start. I actually started writing one whole book and I hit a wall being like, this story isn't over in my life and I don't know where to go. Anyways, I did this meditation and I just started sobbing because I was being told I needed to write this book about Mu, which is the house that I grew up in here on Maui.
Mhm.
It was on sacred ground, and it's a really intense story about like the history of this land and how it came to be. and the energy that was there. And it's very like spiritual, and there's like some woo-woo, but every single thing is tied back into reality, where it's like the whole book is a juxtaposition about like, is this really what's outside of me, or is this all just inside of me and I'm perceiving it as outside of me? And this whole reconciliation I did for the land that I loved so much, but really ended up healing myself and realizing that everything I loved so much about this place was inside of me. And so, spoiler alert, at the end, I lose the house, and it's a homecoming. Like, it's a true homecoming to what it means to be home and in alignment, and understand that like the love that is outside of you that you love so much is truly all inside of you. And
It's
so
beautiful.
that is the sneak peek of that book. And it's pretty much just like a story about the thing that inspired me the most down this path. So the place, yeah.
What's the process been like for you with writing? Do you tell yourself, okay, it's Monday, 9 o'clock, I'm writing for an hour? Like, are you that disciplined, or you do it kind of when you're feeling it?
It started like that. It started as I'm writing an hour a day non-negotiably. And then it moved into like, I really want to power some of this stuff out. I'm gonna 2 weeks like hermit and write every day. I cleared my schedule and just wrote for 2 weeks straight. And then once I got that was, I mean, I got the whole framework of the book from there. And then it's the editing phase, which I learned I hate so much. Um, and so that's been now like taking baby bites. So I don't have a specific deadline on myself anymore. I'm trying to just kind of let it evolve. It's already evolved so much since I've moved back here. I was like, oh my gosh, there's a whole different, like, this story is continue it has continued, and now I know where it ends, but it's kind of editing that all together and making that make a cohesive story. And that's, I'm kind of letting it flow from here.
I think that's a good idea. There's no timeline, there's no rush, and it's going to take a life of its own. So let it, right?
Totally. And that was hard for me to accept because I'm working with an actual literary agent, which is amazing, that we signed on to like maybe 3 years ago now. And I keep being like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, there is no timeline. It really is up to you when this wants to come through. So thank God we're on the same page.
It'll happen. What do you do when your day isn't flowing, Kama?
When my day is flowing,
It's not.
not flowing. Oh, oh my gosh, great question. Before I would just like power through. I would be like, we're just gonna do it. And I'd be like stressed and strained the whole time. And now I've been really trying to focus on like 3 core things I need to get done in a day. And if I can just get those done, that's it. Then I like will take the rest of the day to rest or play or get out of the like stuck energy
Mhm.
again the next day, which is so hard for me because I really didn't trust that like I had any time and things would work out. And I'm honestly by default have historically been a very impatient person. So that's been a really new thing. But so far, so good. I feel a lot better as a person, and that's really all that matters.
It really is all that matters. How important, and I know the answer to this, but how important is self-care to you? And do you have any favorite diet or workouts or meditate? Like, do you have a, tell me about all your favorite woo right now?
I love, yeah, tapping, loving it. Got into weightlifting last year, still a yoga girl forever, but I was going 5 days a week for almost a year and I got like ripped. Not anymore. It's kind of like gone, but I'm starting to incorporate back yoga and a little bit of that together, which I think is a good fun fusion where it's like a challenge, but also I get to stay in my like flow. Um,
Right.
I'm also loving, I'm literally calling this a spiritual practice. I got super into, I was saying bachata dancing, and I've always wanted to forever. I've just loved Latin style dancing, and that's really where I found most of my community. It's partner dancing. It's been such an interesting like psychological thing where I learned I had a really hard time like surrendering. I was like, no, I'm the lead. And like letting go and like just you have to literally be in full trust of like whatever's happening and be listening to subtle cues. And I found that to be just so interesting and like a self-study. I love that so much. And it's also movement, it's community, it's everything all in one. And I would say just like spending so much time in nature. So like I said, surfing, I love so much. I love just being in the water, and same thing, surrendering to literally like the pull of the tides. And I think any practice that gets you into your body and into like something greater at the same time is so powerful, at least for me. So those are my practices right now.
And what about your diet? Like, what are you eating these days?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. So I was vegetarian for 8 years and it worked great for me. I was so happy and everything was great. My weight stabilized, my hair was beautiful. And then in the last 2 years of it, like it just, my body changed. And they say that your body chemistry changes every 7 years. I guess it happened. And I was in so much resistance because I'd not only become comfortable with it, but I kind of like got all like ethical and like was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was advised by a few functional medicine doctors to start eating meat. And so I actually started doing that. And I do mostly just chicken, but I don't say like nothing. I pretty much say I eat anything now. I just am like,
Do you eat fish?
I'll eat sometimes. Okay, I'm weird. I can only eat like a little bit of like hamachi raw. I can't do cooked fish. It grosses me out, which is weird because raw fish is so much
Interesting.
grosser in theory.
So much grosser. Well, it's interesting because your Rose has done the same. Like she's eating chicken now.
Yeah, and we didn't know we did it at like the same time too.
I know that's so interesting because you guys had both been vegetarians for the longest time. How about sugar? What are your thoughts on sugar? Do you have any sugar issues?
I love sugar. I wish I didn't, but I love it so much.
I know it's so good. Ice cream. Love.
Ice cream, cakes, cookies. I love sugar. I will never, I've gone through periods in my life where I've tried to do like no sugar. And honestly, I was just miserable. So I am not against sugar. I think sugar is good for the soul, but obviously in doses. So I'm like,
Right.
I try not to have a bunch around, but if I'm out and I want to do something or I want to order dessert or my friends are having a party,
Yeah. Yeah. And how
so
about alcohol? You're not a big drinker.
I don't drink at all actually. So I'd say
I
like sugar is my vice. The only thing that like yeah, no substances of any kind. And that was like there's multiple reasons for that and they all just ended up being congruent with one another. Now it's like, oh, you're a wellness girl, like obviously, or like,
yeah.
but that's not why I actually did it, but ultimately it serves the whole and then I just have more room to eat like cake.
Is that your favorite? Like, what would be your favorite dessert? Like, what would be your like cake frosting? Like, what kind of cake?
A vanilla buttercream cake.
Oh, yum. Does your mom make any, like, does she bake anything that's like your fave?
She's not a bake. She used to bake banana bread when we were here in Maui, but that's it. Otherwise, she's not a baker. She's not a No. My family isn't even a big sweets family, but it is still just like food. So any food like mm,
What would people be surprised to know about you?
um why did the first thing I'm gonna tell you the first thing that came to my mind just because we're was that I love UFC. I don't know why that was the first thing that came to my mind, but
God.
there's a lot more. But I think that what I think there's a lot of paradoxes in me that do not fit like the stereotype of what people would probably think. And I think that's all of us. That's not unique to me at all.
Right, right, right.
The truth is like a lot of us try to like be in one kind of like pigeonhole ourselves. And when I started to realize like the things that brought me joy are like the spiritual things in my life, I'm like, I think that like sometimes the most ratchet, crazy, dumb things are spiritual. And that's really important to know because whatever brings you joy is that. So I love that.
That
I love like rambunctious things. And what else? I just think, yeah, I think that's authenticity. And authenticity is like the most spiritual thing you can do.
I love it. What have I missed asking you today that you would like to share?
Hmm. Such good questions. I hardly
Mm.
anything. The only thing I would plug at the end here is that my like most of my energy these days has actually been between the Lush Life community and Maui Makai, my online digital magazine. And so if anybody is going to Maui or you live on Maui or you have friends that go to Maui, tell them, because that is my like beating heart. It's just a way to share the community and celebrate the place that has moved me the most. And especially
Right.
after like the fires here, just getting Maui back on its feet and showing the world that there's so much goodness here.
I have two more questions. So, what do you have a favorite quote or motto or motto?
Oh, it's a good question. Not specifically. I don't think I think you probably would hear me being like, it's lit or like send it.
It's that's a good quote.
Those are like the things that are coming out of my mouth the most. But I think the energy is just in general, like do what you want and what you love, and like you're here to live. And like some iteration of that is always what I'm preaching the most.
I like that a lot. And I totally agree. What do you wish you could tell your 18-year-old self?
Oh my God, so much.
You'd have such a long talk with her.
Yeah, such a long talk, but essentially like Maui, like like Maui, like
Just
you know it.
go.
Just go, like just go to what lights you up the most. Go to what is bringing you the most joy. I promise everything else will fall into place. And again, my Maui is a physical place, but for whoever, whatever 18-year-old, whatever person, like go to your Maui, go to your place, follow your things.
Yeah, find where your soul lives. And I think the biggest thing that we could get from, you've been such an amazing guest today, but being clear on what brings you joy and figure it out. Because I think because people are not clear, they're they're lost. They don't know what to do. And you really just need to get time to get to know yourself and figure out what is it that brings you joy, laughter, purpose. It's what we were talking about the blue zones.
Yeah.
I know we totally agree on all that. It's like so interesting. Like, do you remember the one Italian woman? She said, what do you think that's made you live over 100? And she's like, oh, definitely my faith. Well, her faith was walking up a hill to church every day. That movement, that sense of community that you mentioned, eating things that bring you, you know, nutritional, good nutrition, but also that make you feel good. Because it's just what you said, it cascades into every other part of your life.
Yeah, I think we just overcomplicate that. Like, what brings you joy is your fountain of youth, and it's your contribution in the world, and it's everything. So go there.
Go find your Maui.
Go find your Maui.
Kama Hagar, thank you so much for being a guest. I love you so much. You're like one of my other daughters. I'm going to have everything in the show notes about all the amazing things that you do. And you inspire me. And I just want to thank you for being you and for making the world a better place. You radiate the world. So thank you.
Thank you. I love you.
I love you more. I'm Christina Flach, and I'm too busy, and I'll see you next week.
This has been I'm Too Busy with host Christina Flach. Tune in each week as Christina approaches the concept of success holistically, recognizing that achievement is not solely measured by financial triumphs, but also by maintaining a healthy work-life balance and focusing on self-care. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network, powered by B2 Studios.